So I want to talk a little bit today about breakups and surviving a breakup and how to deal with the aftermath after a terrible breakup. Because what you need to do is go get yourself a makeover and then look yourself fierce. I'm just kidding. Not that you shouldn't go get yourself a makeover and look yourself fierce, but that's not what's going to survive you after a breakup. And that's not what we're going to be talking about today. What we're going to talk about today is how to help build up the mental and emotional landscape after a breakup. How to survive the actual emotional and mental repercussions that come from a breakup. It's not that you shouldn't go and make yourself look fabulous. It's not that you shouldn't go and have a trip and, take your mind off of things. But the aftermath is when you come back, you still have to deal with the emotional and mental issues that come with after a breakup. So I have about 7 points that I have discovered are the things that actually will help you recover yourself from a bad breakup. Now, I just went through a bad breakup, and the reason that I'm sharing these things is because I actually had to go through these things myself. And one of the ways that I recover from things, the way that I deal with things, how I can address things and look at things is by actually sharing these things and verbalizing them and making myself sort of accountable. So I have a little bit of a list here of some of the things that I think are essential to surviving, recovering from a breakup, at least mentally and emotionally, how to recover from a breakup. All right. The first one is to make new memories and associations and rid yourself of triggers that are going to cause you bad memories. So, for example, let's say, you guys, there were certain things that were left, certain items maybe, get rid of them. Certain associations with an article of clothing, get rid of it. Just toss it. You're driving down the street and you're like, oh, the last time we went to Trader Joe's was together. Stop and pick a flower. And when you go in, buy something that you've never bought before. Do something to switch it up so that next time you go there, you're just like, man, you remember, mentally you're just thinking to yourself, do you remember last time I was here? Man, I showed myself what was up. I showed myself how to have a good time. And these are the things that will actually break you from those negative triggers that will, it's not that we don't want to be rid of a relationship. It's not that we don't want to move on. It's that sometimes our brain is hardwired to remember things that, that we don't want to be emotionally attached to these things anymore. One of the most important things is, number 2, cry and then be done with it and make a firm decision. Let yourself be emotional. It's okay to let those emotions come out. But once you've made a firm decision, you have to troubleshoot possible scenarios. You have to think, what if this person comes back into my life? What am I going to do in this situation? And you have to make a firm decision and know, no matter what happens, this is the decision that I've made because the pain was not worth the pleasure, and I'm not going to let myself be put in this situation again. I'm not going to let this person dictate how my emotions are run on me. So once you make that firm decision, let yourself be emotional. Let yourself get those emotions out. But if the situation ever comes up where you have to make that decision where, please take me back. Please let me back into your life. You've already decided that the pain was not worth the pleasure. And if you've truly decided that, if that's something that's important to you as it was to me, then you already know ahead of time that when those pretty eyes are staring you in the face and it's all smiles and it's all happiness again, you know already what the decision is going to be. So make sure that you let the emotions come out, but also make a firm decision that you're never going to let yourself be put in that situation again. Cut all communication with the person if possible. And I have an asterisk by this one because it's not always possible to cut all communication, but I will tell you right now, it is possible to cut communication for at least 21 to 28 days. Imagine as if you were going into a detox, a rehab, and that's actually what you're doing. Emotionally and mentally, you're going into detox of this person. There is not one thing that a person needs or has to have that's going to require you to be there for them for at least 21 to 28 days. Let yourself be rid of this person for at least that amount of time to let yourself recover and recuperate from the emotional stress and the mental anguish that you've gone through this breakup. Because if you weren't the one who broke up, no matter what the situation was, in my situation, I want to say I was the innocent person. But you know, regardless of who wants to blame who or whatever the situation was, I've decided that I'm not going to have any communication with this person for at least 21 to 28 days because I need that much time to make sure that I am stable emotionally and mentally to move on from this and know that no, this is never going to happen again. You're never going to get into my heart, into my life again. And so it's because you're so emotionally fragile at the very beginning of a relationship. Some people are anyway. I am. That I wouldn't want to put myself in a place of temptation. So I think that cutting communication for the first 21 to 28 days is actually one of the things that is essential. Number 4, start something new and replace the lonely time with happy time. So all of a sudden, you've got some new time on your hands. You know, relationships can be very burdensome as far as time consuming. And we all have things in our lives that we are desiring to accomplish and to pursue. And so replace that lonely time with things that are new pursuits, are new adventures, new happiness. For me, I was fortunate enough to start a brand new job right now. And so I am very preoccupied and very happy and I get inspired with the fact of what I'm doing in my career. And that's what's distracting me from some of this lonely time. And when I do have time alone, of which actually most of my time is alone time because I live alone, but I find things that bring me happiness. So I watch shows, I do things that I couldn't normally have done. I take some me time, I do spa things, you know, I spoil and pamper myself. And so these are the things that I'm doing to help me create some new happy time instead of focusing on lonely time. Number 6 would be to practice meditations focused on happiness, joy, and abundance. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be literal and practical meditations. These can be just thoughts and ideas of joy and abundance. But basically what it means is focus on your gains and not your losses. Focus on all of the things that you're gaining from not being in this relationship instead of the things that you're losing. Sometimes when we're in a relationship, especially a very serious one, and all of a sudden our world changes and it turns upside down, we are left to a new worldview. You know, it's almost like a paradigm shift, just like as if we were leaving any type of idea of what we thought the world was going to be. And when we experience this at first, it's natural to feel a little bit of loss. And all we need to do is a mental shift. And if we do this mental shift and we all of a sudden start focusing on wait a minute, you know, I'm getting to be free. I'm getting to have my independence. I'm getting to date or pursue whoever I desire. I'm getting my me time. I don't need to devote any attention, time, energy, mental energy, you know, to somebody. And that is an incredible amount of freedom. No matter how much you love a person, you have to be grateful for the fact that you don't have to pursue or devote time and energy to that relationship if you choose not to. And so when the circumstances is chosen for you, you know, through a breakup, you're actually given the opportunity to be relieved of that pressure and of that energy. And so, you know, as much as I loved the idea of pursuing this relationship before, I look back and I'm thinking, well, you know, it did take a lot of my time and it did take a lot of my mental, you know, I was consumed by trying to want to just think about him or please him or whatever it was. And I'm totally free from that now. And not only that, but focus also on the things that make you happy, the things that make you feel abundant, and the things that make you feel joyful. And there are many, many different ways to do this, but it's going to be individual and specific for every person. All right. The next thing is to, I guess, the last thing that I want to share with you is what is called an autosuggestive or self-hypnosis technique known as creating the new mantra. Now, this actually might take a little bit of skill, and I might actually even make another video talking about this particularly, because I'm not really going through the details of how to create the new mantra and how to do the auto-suggestive technique. But basically what this is how to reprogram your mind with a new formula. I use this all the time in my life, and I use it to help me progress in an individual way, in a professional way, in a spiritual way, in an emotional way, in every type of way. And you can also use it when you're coming out of a breakup. Basically what it is, and I will actually, I have to require myself to make another video to show anybody who's interested in the precise technique, because I'm not going to get into this precise technique right now because it's just too much for this one particular video. But what it is a self-hypnosis technique to help you create basically a formula that helps you reprogram yourself. And it's very specific. And for example, some of the mantras or the formulas that we would use in this particular example would be, you always want to use it in the form of an I am, and you always want to use it in the form of a present tense. So for example, I am a happy, independent, abundant person. You know, I am completely perfect in myself, and I have so much to offer the world. You know, these are examples of mantras that are autosuggestive mantras. What you would want to do is formulate one that is specific to you, that you will actually use to help reprogram yourself. When I very first came out of this relationship, very recently, I just broke up with this person, and I went through kind of an emotional tear in myself, and I felt myself hurt. And the very first thing that happened was all of a sudden I started to hear this inner dialogue come in that would say, you know, I'm never gonna love again. Oh, I'm never gonna love again. Oh, you know, oh, the pain, it's not worth it. I'm never gonna love again. And over a little bit of time, I realized that it was an inner dialogue that was sort of protecting me from the experience that I was having. And I needed to take control. You have to take control over your own mental landscape. And that's what these whole techniques are all about. So through this process, you're actually just creating a new dialogue for yourself. And it is specific, like I said, I'll go through this specific technique in another video, but basically in a very simplistic way, it's just creating a new dialogue for yourself. So instead of that, I would replace it with, I am perfect and I have so much to offer. You know, I am independent and I love to be independent. You know, there's countless different types of mantras that you could choose. The most important thing is that it's an inner dialogue, that it's something that you repeat to yourself quite often, and it's also in the form of an I am, and it's in the present. So these are just some of the little life formulas that I've learned to help a person sort of, you know, just process a breakup. And it's not necessarily even only applicable to breaking up in a relationship. It could be used, a lot of these techniques could be used for all sorts of types of losses in our life, and just how to process through the initial stages of grief and loss. And so I just wanted to share these things with you because they were important to me, and it's some of the things that I'm going through right now. And I feel like one of the best ways for me to go through this experience is to verbalize it out loud and to share it with others, and maybe through that process help a few people. I know I'm helping myself. So thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.